Few things in life are certain, but when you follow 4 neuroscientists, you're given 10 minutes, it turns into 4. So that's where I am today. So let's see what we can do in 4 minutes. First of all, Dr. Lander and I have a lot in common. He taught a whole bunch of students in biology in 1990 about the genome, only to sequence the genome, and found out he'd been telling them a lot of lies. I went and taught people American government before going to Washington, D.C. I went to Washington, D.C. for 7 years, and I felt like getting all my students together and saying, I lied. I didn't tell you the truth. The other thing that we have in common is that I'm trying to create a world of research that duplicates what he's done with what he was able to do with a whole bunch of money. A world of collaboration where people work together to solve very, very difficult problems. And I think the brain is an extremely difficult problem. And OneMind is doing just that. We're doing it in the areas of post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury, but that's not where we're going to stop. We're doing it to prove that when you collaborate, when you work together, when you share data, you can get to answers, diagnostics, and therapies quicker than when you work in individual labs and don't work together. Now, many of you know this organization. Many of you know this organization is OneMind for Research. We have kind of changed our name, and we've chopped off the research part because I had a problem with people coming up to me and saying, I want to come visit you in Seattle and see all your labs. We have no labs. We are following what Garen Staglin told us we were supposed to do, Garen, Sherry, and Patrick, when we started this organization, and that was to try to connect the dots. And these are the dots that we've tried to connect in the last 2 years. And I don't have time to go through all my slides. I know you can't read them, but let me point out a couple of things. The very first thing we did was get together a group of scientists who wanted to collaborate with one another at 11 different institutions. All of them brought up in the current system that said if you competed for an $18 million grant and you got that $18 million grant, that was really good. But they kind of came together and said, if the 11 of us compete for an individual grant, and we all get 1/11 of that, will that be even better for the patient? Because collaborating and working together, we can do that. And they kicked off something called Track TBI. They received $18.6 million from the NIH last year in late October. They've been through all their training, all their work together, and I think many of the scientists in here will understand this. Of the 3,000 patients they're going to enroll longitudinally at 11 different locations all over the country, they have already enrolled 360. That's amazing for the money being only given to them 9 months ago. And they are well ahead of being able to get where they need to be. In addition to that, we've created for them what we call the Apollo Data Exchange Portal. A place where they can go on the internet, access data sets, and collaborate together even though they're located in 11 different locations. Where they can post their data and make use of the kind of analytical tools that Dr. Lander talked about that can be used to both integrate and analyze the data that they're collecting. We have already uploaded the data from the 364 patients that are currently in the program into that tool. And we're already looking at it and finding some amazing things. In addition to another dot that we've connected is the international portion of this. We are supporting another research project in Europe called Center TBI. And Center TBI is going to enroll over 6,000 patients at 76 different locations across Europe, and they're using the same common data elements, the same electronic data capture platform, all the same thing that are being used in Track TBI. So now you're at a power of almost 10,000 patients whose data is going to be collected, who are going to be followed for a year, who are going to have all the things done that would allow the genetic work that Dr. Lander talked about, that will be available. It is an amazing thing. And the final thing that I really want to point out here is that we have leveraged that $18.6 million into another $23 million in government funds, so that we're now over $40 million in government funds with the additional money we've been able to provide to fill out this study. And as Dr. Lander said, he wants every patient to sign up. We've created the ability for patients with traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress to go to a website called Patients Like Me that many of you may know about, where there are going to be online communities that are going to be created for patients with traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress. And those online communities are being developed by our researchers. So not only are you going to get clinical data, but they're going to get data from patients that are self-reporting and all the comorbidities that are associated with traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress. So in my 4 minutes, let me stop there. And if anybody has any questions for me, they can answer them, ask them during the question and answer period for the entire group.
Great.
Thank you.
That's great.